Are you up Shit's Creek, feeling bleak and not chic? Where in your week is your energetic leak keeping you weak and down off your peak? Let's turn the other cheek and take back what you seek, giving you the power on this very hour of Real Men, Real Talk Live. I could have used one more rehearsal.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm the host of the show. My name is Jay Rothman. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. This evening, we have coming in from Nashville, Tennessee, Jeff Fasano. Welcome to the show, Jeff Fasano.
Thank you, Jay. Good to be here.
And we have Mr. Rapper coming in from Southern California, Los Angeles area, Josh Richer. Welcome.
Hey.
I was going to call him Gridlock Richer or something like that, you know. He needs a name.
Right.
And, of course, we have Everslove Heath, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome to the studio, Ev.
Thanks, brothers.
So tonight we decided to change it up a little bit. We had Josh join us. If you picked us up a little late on the live feed, hit the replay tonight after the show's over. And you'll have the honor and privilege to listen to Josh rap a new tune for Real Men Real Talk Live.
Nothing better than listening to white boys try and rap.
Well, in any event, episode 81 tonight. Viewers, welcome to the show. Tonight, if you should hear something that you like or love, we invite you to tap your love button on your monitor and light us up. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down into the comment section, and we'll do our best to acknowledge and answer as many questions as possible that come forward. Tonight's episode 81. Tonight's title is all about, are you ready to stop the leak to hit your peak? The power play. How much of your week is consumed by your leaks? And are you willing to speak to hit your peak? Now,
there's the rap.
There you go, Jay.
Hey, I was feeling the vibe going.
There's your lyrics, Josh.
What I didn't have was Evis in the background giving us the beat. But
right.
But you know, I'm going to invite Josh, since I think this is tonight's show topic was one that you picked up for us in our production meeting yesterday. We landed on it. At least you came up with a brilliant title. But what are we talking about here? Are you ready to stop the leak to hit your peak? What is the leak that we're referring to?
Man, imagine we're that boat sailing out in the ocean, and everything that's a drain on our energy is like one little extra hole in our boat, you know? Are they people that are draining from us? We only have so much bandwidth, excuse me, in our lives. And that just gets taken up by all of these things that are feeding off of our energy. So tonight's show is about energy. It's about where we're leaking it. And then how can we stop those leaks, speak up for ourselves, set boundaries if we need to. We're going to cover a whole lot of other topics, all centering around the leaks that are draining our battery in life and how we can take back that power. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, brother.
What do you think of that,
100%, brother. And, you know, a few key words that sort of give me a pathway into tonight's show. You're talking about there, number one, energy. The other thing, you know, boundaries. Being aware, I think, also is really what we need to identify where we've been giving away some of that power that you're talking about. Now, I know we may have done it at the start of the year. I'm not too sure, Jay the Roth Man, but I remember I think we did a little bit of a show on personal power. And I'm pretty sure we identified a couple of things through that. And what it really had come down for me, and I've been actually, I was talking to the brothers in the green room before the show. I've been actually doing a Rainbow Serpent Dreaming workshop here on Facebook. And we're actually on the second light center, or that second wheel. And You know, I really talk about those particular waters being the foundation for the energy source that really powers up the vehicle of your body. So what Josh is talking about there, you can only imagine that ship, how I like to look at it, even like a car or a vehicle. Imagine if we haven't changed the oil. Man, I used to be bad for this. You haven't changed the oil for a while. And over time, it just keeps going and going. But then all of a sudden, the whole car just falls apart. It just stops. You know, some of those oil changes that you didn't make, or whether it was a leak from the battery, over time, they build up this particular reservoir that really does not allow you to keep moving. It doesn't allow you to move forward. So being able to identify some of those leaks, like Josh said, whether it was in the form of people or other places and things outside of you that you've been lending out, whether it's conscious or unconscious, are going to be a build-up of you not being able to move in motion. Now, I know for a lot of my journey, my brothers and sisters, man, I was giving out my power like this, you know? I was giving it out like this because I wanted to friggin' help everyone. But then it came back to the little boy because I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to be abandoned again. I wanted everyone to love me. I wanted to be validated. So for me, it's really getting down to the grounds of those waters, of that fuel, that energy, down at that lower part of yourself, those emotions that create the foundation for our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our confidence to be able to move forward in this particular vehicle. So when I was able to identify what places I was lending my energy out to, and what was really making me sluggish, it was actually draining me to the point where I actually become aware of an anger pattern. There was like an anger pattern within me. And if I felt that come up, it was nearly like a rage. And there has been times where this brother that you know as Evers, I've projected that anger out onto people, my brothers and sisters. And I put my hand up, and I'm not proud of it. I really am not proud of it. But when I was able to identify what I'd been doing, I was able to then use that anger as a powerful energy to be able to hit my peak on who you see right now.
Well, isn't that anger, Ev? The anger is almost an anger at yourself, betraying yourself, for giving yourself away. The anger is an internal anger because when we're giving or we're expending energy, because it's all energy, and when we're giving or doing for others, we're expending energy. That energy's got to come back to us. But it's up to us to be responsible as adults to know that. So it's about the balance of giving and receiving in anything. If I'm giving to someone without attachment, because we've spoken about this many times. Am I doing and giving to somebody with an attachment? The attachment is the wounding. Will I be loved? Will I be liked? Will I be accepted? Will I be validated? By giving, and you keep giving. What we're doing is we're leaking our energy. We're expending energy, and then it depletes us. And that's where we have to be conscious that we're setting the boundaries, that in this relationship or whatever is happening, there needs to be a balance of giving and receiving. I'm giving, I'm expending energy. As I do that, the energy needs to come back to us, to replenish us. So that's where the balance of giving and receiving in relationships are. But we have to be conscious and aware of that as adults, you know, and check ourselves and say, oh, am I giving through my wounding? Am I doing through my wounding? Am I leaking my energy constantly and it's not being replenished through the balance of giving and receiving? But that's all up to us as adults.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah, I want to go ahead, Josh. Go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, you know, what both Jeff, you and Ev were saying is the first step is awareness. You know, we probably don't even know where we're leaking. and where that energy is being drawn from us, and where we're just freely giving that energy away. So yeah, the first step, which I think is important that we talk about, was that awareness, and going, wow, where am I, freely allowing this energy to leave me and to go away, and what is my motivation behind that? Is it pure, or am I looking to heal that wounded child?
I did the last 3 days. Remember when I came in at the end of our production meeting last night, I was drained, guys, and you probably saw it. I went to something on Sunday night, and then Monday night, and then Tuesday night, and then last night, and I realized that I was doing and giving. And last night, when I got on the production meeting, I left where I was early because I was done. My energy was at that place where it was, on a scale of 1 to 10, my energy was about 3 last night. So I needed to come back and replenish that energy the way I needed to do it. Now, I was conscious of what I was doing, what was going on, but I realized that I expended a lot of energy in the last 3 or 4 days, and I needed to replenish that energy within me so I can get on with it today.
Beautiful. There's another component to this that I experienced this morning. I was out in the wilderness with a beautiful couple from New York, and over the 3 hours, the guest said that they live in Manhattan, and she talked about her story around giving away her energy. Had nothing to do with other people, but she actually blamed it on New York. And so she's living in this story that justifies the fact that she's got no energy or very little energy at the end of the day to connect with a partner and or to connect with herself. And she believes the story that she's living in, that basically it's New York's fault. And I'm paraphrasing what she said and shared, but here's the truth, is that I don't care where you live. It's a choice to let people, places, or things allow the leak to continue. Even if you live in New York, even if you live in San Francisco, even if you live in Paris, no matter where you live, it's a choice how much you're willing to give away of your energy. And learning that either you learn how to manage your life, or you give the power of your life to manage you. I'm going to repeat that. Are you ready to manage your life, or allow your life to manage you? Now, having said that, I spent most of my adulthood giving my power away to my life, choices that I made, not having any idea how to slow it down. And by the time I awoke, I think you said it really eloquently, I too had so many layers and layers of resentment and anger and frustration. And it was interesting because I thought I was angry at the people in my inner circle that were very, very open to receiving and taking my energy. But I do know the truth, and I knew it then too. I wasn't truthful with myself. I was mostly angry at myself for basically letting my energy become a runaway train, out of control, with no brakes. And I didn't know how to slow it down without total derailment. And who I was most angry at was me. But I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the awareness of first questioning, why am I showing up that way? And then secondly, how do I apply the brakes and say, no more, not now, not here, not today, no mas. Because if I did that, I may not be loved anymore. I may become the bad guy. And that's how I showed up. And so I just found it so interesting this morning when she held New York City responsible for the choices she's making in her life and the quality of her relationships.
I would like to find out what about Manhattan is sucking her energy, because I'm telling you what, I lived in Manhattan for 20 years and you're bombarded every day by energy. It's like you can walk through Manhattan and your feet don't touch the ground.
I want to take a moment here to acknowledge Nancy Clarkson. Love to know where you call home today. Where do you reside? What city, state, or country? Welcome tonight to Real Men, Real Talk, episode 81. Nancy says, with an I, Nancy with an I, not a Y. Love that. I have totally fallen to my life, controlling me over the last couple of years. I need to take my life back. Nancy, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes right here, right now, and take a nice deep breath. And as you take that nice deep breath in through your nose, hold it for 3 or 4 seconds and then release it. And take a second nice deep breath. And this time, raise your arms up in the air and say it out loud. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I am taking back my life right here, right now, tonight. And then say, no more. Not here, not now, not today. No more. Yes, yes, yes to me. Yes, yes, yes to me. And then drop it down in the comments and let me know how freeing that feels if you said it out loud. This can become a new mantra every single day when you have awareness that you're giving away all your energy and you got nothing left in that battery for you except resentment and one more layer of exhaustion. She says, hold on. She says, okay, I did it. That felt really good. Now that's the freedom I'm talking about.
Hey, wouldn't this also come down to learning how to say no?
Yes.
I was just thinking the same thing, Jeff. That no goes right along with all
it took me a while to learn how to say no to someone. And instead of always saying, hey, I remember I was dating a woman back in New York, and I just started this process of self-mastery. And anytime when she would, call, are you free? Let's go and do this. And I might have been really busy, and I would stop and I would say, sure, let's get together. And I wasn't taking care of myself. I remember doing that many, many times. And it was through that relationship that I learned how to say no. No, I'm busy right now. I'm doing this. And it was really a challenge to set that boundary of, you know what? No, I'm busy right now, but hey, maybe in about 3 or 4 hours, I'll give you a call and we can get together. That was a challenge for me to learn how to say no, to contain my energy, to honor what I was doing for myself, honor what I would need for myself. How many times have we all been exhausted and someone calls and says, can you help me out? And we did it, much to our detriment. It's okay to learn how to say no.
Yes.
It's a big one, brother. And the thing is too, like, what we've got to be careful of here, my brothers and sisters, is really not allowing ourselves to go in being a victim of life. Because when I think of people that are victims, they're really giving their personal power away. When I think of someone that is a victim within their life, they're reacting to that external, whether it's a person or location. But when you think of someone that's been more proactive within their life, to me, they're more in control of their life, brothers and sisters. They take more responsibility for their actions and their behaviors within their lives, and they really do have that personal power to claim. So when we're going into these boundaries, number one for me, my brothers and sisters, to not allow people to come into my life that don't honor my personal power, your morals and your values. Have you sat down lately with your morals and values? Have you actually got any morals and values? Because I know for years I was letting people that didn't have them. I wasn't aware of them.
Whoa. Whoa, Ev, take a moment here. I'd like for you to repeat what you just said. Take a nice deep breath.
Give it to me, brother. Give it to me.
You said for years, repeat what you said, if you recall what you said.
100%, brother, because, you know, it was a lot of awareness that I had to dig deep into my self-awareness journey. And I was allowing people into my life that didn't have any principles or values or morals. But I didn't know any better because I didn't have any of my own.
There it is.
That's a truth bomb right there. That's why we do this show. This is real men, real talk, live.
Yeah, man.
Because we show up and we tell on ourselves. We show up and we tell our truth. Now, that doesn't mean that we're coming from guilt and shame. That just comes from truth. And when we finally are willing to tell on ourselves and tell our truth, there's freedom in that. And there's healing that takes place. So
the precursor,
thank you so much for that tonight.
The precursor to change on anything in our lives is being brutally honest with ourselves. And that's telling on ourselves. We have to be brutally honest. Who's causing this leak? Who, you know, we want to, it's so easy to blame New York or, you know, whatever other people are in our lives and situations. We have to be brutally honest. Like you said, Ev, it was your fault. It was you not having those values and morals in yourself and allowing others like you to be in your life. And it was draining your energy. So when we get honest is when that's the doorway to change. That's when we can take back our power, is when we say, who's actually perpetuating this in my life? It's me.
There you go, brother. That's it, man.
So even as a coach, even in the work that I do today, for example, just a quick example, I was scheduling out a coaching call, and I accepted the date and time, and then I looked at a secondary calendar and saw that I have hike and heal experiences earlier in the day. And I took less than 5 seconds to know, not only was that not good for me, that would not be good for my paid client. And so I circled back to her and I said, you know what? Actually, it's not going to work on that day because I want to have 100% of my energy available for our coaching session. And I'm not going to have it. I already know that. I'm going to give away so much of my energy in the wilderness that it's okay for me to speak my truth in that moment and communicate, talk in this new language of, I'm not going to have the energy to provide to you that I want to have and that you paid for. So instead of showing up at 70%, how many of you, viewers and listeners, are the 6th or 7th client when you go see a therapist? Or if you're paying for a coach? Think about that. Do you want to be that sixth client in a therapist's office? How much value can you receive? Is that good for you? So even for me, it's really about paying attention to when I make a commitment to engage in a conversation, in a social event, in a coaching scenario, even in business. How am I going to show up? And if I'm not at peace with it, for me to have the courage to express that as one of the 4 agreements, it's paraphrasing, it's none of my business what you think of me. In other words, the person will respect you more for speaking the truth. And if they don't, then maybe they shouldn't be in a relationship with you in the first place. So there's just an example of learning how to manage the leak and understanding that at any given moment, you can say, no, thank you. Let's reset this because I don't have the energy that I want to provide for you and for me in the exchange. It's a new way to speak. It's a new way to live. But ultimately what it's about, it's not about taking care of the client. It's about taking care of yourself. And I love the fact when I'm able to have that awareness and set that boundary, as we've seen it dropping in the comments. It's about setting a loving boundary for yourself and being honest and truthful with it without any shame or without like, well, my old ego would have been like, of course I can do it. I could spend 6 hours in the wilderness and then show up for one more client. But is that good for me? Is that good for them? There you go. What do you make of that, Fasano?
6 hours in the wilderness?
That's right down our alley, man.
No, I mean, it's all about boundaries. I mean, we're back to boundaries. Didn't we do a show on boundaries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes we've got to repeat these things.
Really, it's all about boundaries. But
I forget
what's been ruminating in my brain, amongst the many things that are ruminating in my brain right now, is understanding energy.
There you go.
Understanding energy. Really understanding when people say we are all energy. We just have this physical body that's here, but that's all it is. We're made up of energy. And I said it earlier, understanding that you can't drive your car on empty. It's impossible. So we have to understand that we can't live on empty. And we have to understand that we are energy. And then, whether it's the reason why we sleep at night, what we're doing is replenishing our energy through a multidimensional connection that is replenishing us so we can get up the next day and function and do what we need to do. And then within all of that, if we're helping somebody here, or even like Jay just mentioned in what we do for a living, if we have to have the energy to do that, and then somebody comes along and says, can you help me at 10 o'clock at night? And we're depleted, we can say no, because we've expended energy. That energy, I said it earlier, that energy needs to come back to us. So if we look at a wonderful thing to look at is our relationships.
Boom. There you go.
Hey
Jeff, I want to invite you to. I'm going to put something up here that's tied into where you're going down this rabbit hole right now in relationships. CJ Johnson says it's hard in a marriage to keep my energy. Now, before I want to take a moment here to really kind of dive into this with CJ in this moment. But he also talks about here, he says, compassion fatigue is real. I work at an LV1 psych facility. So putting 2 and 2 together, by the time he comes home, he's wiped. And he says, it's hard in a marriage to keep my energy. So I want to invite one of you guys to kind of jump in on that. And maybe, well, the first thought that comes to my mind is, if I was right now coaching you, CJ, I'd be asking you, which I'm going to ask you, is, do you have any time for self-care in every single day for yourself? Even if it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes, if any self-care in a day for yourself. And then you're welcome to drop it down in the comments, not meant to shame you or anything. It's just it's a really powerful question I ask, because when we don't do self-care, we're already depleted. We're already leaking because we're not having given to ourselves first. That oxygen mask that they tell you to put on first in the airplane is your self-care opportunity every single morning that you're given another day to breathe. Now, I didn't know that. Believe me, I was in a 30-year marriage. I didn't know that. What's that, Jeff?
You know something, Jay, I would ask him also is like, what within this relationship, I'm going to take the word marriage out of it. What within the relationship with this other person is not supporting you, containing your energy, containing your own energy. And there's a way to do that too. But what is it in this relationship? Is this relationship always pulling at your energy, sucking your energy? Is there a balance of giving and receiving in this relationship? I mean, that's what I would want to know.
Beautiful.
Or in my case in life, where are you afraid to speak up for yourself? That speak that we're talking about.
Yeah.
What am I afraid of, like what I've talked about, that rejection or that not being honored, and that fear of that holding me back from speaking my truth, speaking up for myself, and saying those no's that we need to say to start to fill our battery again. My whole thing was afraid of what people would think if I did.
Hey, doesn't it come down to needs, Ev?
I think too, my brothers, like what Jeff's saying there, we've got to really understand, what energy is to us. Many of us, and what I was talking about on this Rainbow Serpent dreaming mode this morning, was that many of us are running on rotten fuel till this point. You got to ask yourself, what fuel have you been running on? What energy have you been running on your vehicle up until this point within your life? People will only treat you the way you allow them to. Let me say it again. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. So if you haven't done the work, let's go back. We've got to go back. We've got to go back to the early days, my brothers and sisters, when the emotions were formed. If you have not done the work on how you related to other people, it could have been, mum and dad first up when those emotions were first forming. But if you haven't been able to do the work on how you start to perceive yourself, not on the way that they make you feel, but on the way you felt around those particular people at those particular ages, then you would have been lending out of a lot of energy. And what happens is that fuel you've been using for all of these years, my brothers and sisters, it's actually swampy, it's murky, like we've talked about, or very too much to the very point that it becomes a wasteland, dried up. So if you think you're trying to create this specific love, this specific happiness or fulfillment within your life, how can you create that within your life if your waters aren't even flowing, my brothers and sisters? So when we can actually clear and cleanse some of the emotions, the feelings that are really creating the fuel for the energy source to run this vehicle, to give your I am into the world and be able to express yourself. And my brothers and sisters, you're going to be running on empty, but you're also going to be running on a fuel that's not sufficient for where you are, particularly within your life right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we got to go back to self-care, my brothers and sisters. Like Joe the Rothman said, that's where I'd be starting off. Once you've cleared and cleansed those waters, and bring a little bit back love back home.
And Ev, it's in relationships, and I've said this a couple of times tonight, understanding what the balance of giving and receiving is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, understanding what that is and our needs within that. There always needs in any relationship to be a balance of giving and receiving. And we've touched on this many times. If we're giving and we give from our heart space, and as Ed just said, are we open in our heart space to receive? So when we're looking at energy in a relationship, if I'm good friends with these guys, I'm giving to Evis, and I'm giving to Evis, helping him do this, do that, do this, do that. Evis in a healthy relationship will understand that, oh, now there needs to be reciprocal balance of giving and receiving in this. But that we really have to understand what that is. And we can blame the person that we're in relationship with. Oh, I keep on giving and giving. I'm getting nothing in return. Well, that's up to us. What is up to us is if we understand what the balance of giving and receiving is, then that will be a requirement in our relationship with someone else, that they understand it. And then we can openly communicate and speak our truth to someone, which is our boundaries and our needs, and our needs lead to that balance of giving and receiving. It's an open communication. Hey, Ev, what do you need? Ev goes, this is what I need, Jeff. Then Ev says, hey, Jeff, what do you need? There's the balance.
And I know that many of us, we've all expressed this in past shows, that because of lack of self-love, we weren't able to hear or take in those gifts from others, that energy coming back to us. We actually blocked it. Mm-hmm. And we didn't take it in, and we didn't allow it. And so therefore we kept giving over and over and over and over and running our batteries down to nothing so that we could receive, because we wanted that, affection and that approval. We wanted all that. And then when it came, we straight armed it and didn't even allow it in.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, we could keep on creating relationships where we're recreating over and over the same behaviors, and then blame that person in the relationship that shows up that's not giving back to us. Hey, that's the universe just putting that person back in front of you, saying, are you ready to receive? And why you continue to recreate the same relationship over and over again with the same old story of, oh, wow, I'm not being heard. They don't know what I need. I can't do this. I can't get this. I'm always giving. And, look at that old story and behavior. It's what we have to learn.
Yeah. And really what it comes down to, it sounds simple, but it's not easy, because we're caught in the cycles, we're caught in the patterns. And for many of us, it's like a maze with no exit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was me. I mean, raising 3 sons, being a workaholic, always wanting to seek love from people outside of myself because I lacked it within, not knowing that, of course. And what I've learned today, and if you're a parent watching the podcast this evening, and if you have young children that you're raising at home, what I'd like to invite you to do is to consider, what you think you don't have time for self-care, what a great opportunity to mentor and teach your children that self-care is the most important loving gift to give to yourself every single day. And what I mean by that is, if you were to carve out every day 30 minutes and you explaining to your children, if you haven't gone through this, is to explain to them the benefits of self-care. And I'm not talking about, going out and getting a manicure or pedicure, or your hair colored, or a massage. Those are all really nice pampering moments. I'm talking about self-care that actually helps you connect with yourself, bring you back into calm, stillness, ease. I'm talking about the parasympathetic nervous system response. And it kind of guide your children, teach them, like, for the next 30 minutes today, we're all going to do self-care. And this is what Daddy's going to do for self-care today. And these are the choices that you have, or do you have any ideas on what you would like to do for self-care today? It could be reading. It could be writing, journaling. It could be going out in nature. It could be learning to teach your children how to do some small breath work sessions. Teaching your children how to close their eyes and how to listen to calm music and begin to learn what meditation can feel like. And invite your children during that time that you're doing your self-care for them to go into their own rooms in the privacy, or create a safe space in their backyard or somewhere on your property where you can keep an eye on them, but at the same time, they can experience being outdoors and connecting with nature. Maybe it's taking off their shoes and teaching them the health benefits of earthing or grounding, meditation and movement. And invite your children to start to embrace the health benefits of self-care, so that by the time they're an adult, they're already programmed into that as part of their daily rituals. I wasn't awakened as a dad when my kids were growing up. I didn't teach them self-care. I taught them self-sabotage. I taught them to give it all away. I taught them what entitlement can feel like, because they didn't have to show up a whole lot. I did everything for my kids. Now, I share that because that's just my truth. I'm not beating myself up for it. Why? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's okay. That's part of us showing up and growing up, right? What do you make of that, Josh, Richard?
Beautiful, Jay. Beautiful. It is. This work is done without judgment. And that's the way it needs to be, because you're absolutely right. We don't know what we don't know. And that was me for decades. Blissfully unaware, running my patterns and leaving destruction or no self-care, or, fostering anger and blame for all of the things that weren't going right in my life, and the different ways that I wasn't able to achieve my goals or get to my dreams or have the things that I wanted, or it was just a life full of excuses. And you're absolutely right. That's okay. It's okay to say all these things. It's okay to admit all these things. It's okay to tell on ourselves, and it's okay to say, you know what, I screwed up. And whether you screwed up huge, I mean, I ended up in rehab. And that was a long run down a road that there were many warning signs, and I kept going because I was just headstrong.
Not only that, Josh, not only that, I think it's even more so than headstrong. We're not given a roadmap or a blueprint how to exit off the freeway.
There you go.
You just keep driving on that 405 like it's going to take you to Nirvana.
Right.
I want to acknowledge Carrie Crary here says, I created codependency, and what you created was what I described. That was how I showed up as a husband. That is how I showed up as a father. That is how I showed up as a friend. That is how I showed up as a son. She goes on to say, in my kids and animals and my husband in unhealthy ways. Now, the beautiful thing about what Carrie just did is, she's told on herself. But what I know is that I'm going to speak to you, Carrie. It's not she, but you have made amazing strides to speak your truth and learn how to take care of yourself and free yourself from codependent relationships. It's a process. It's a journey, but you do the work, and that's just, what more can we ask for? It's about showing up. It's about taking the action. As I think it was either Chris Morrison or Cameron said, it's about taking massive action. And so thank you for sharing that. It's just beautiful that we could show up here and, speak our truth and not go to guilt and shame, but just acknowledge it and go, you know what? It's okay. But how do we change our behavior moving forward? How do we change our behavior starting with today? And what it's about is it's rewiring our brain. We got to recircuit all of what we've been living in that created this energy field of giving it away. And now it's time to say, no, thank you. Because when we say no, thank you to someone else, we're actually saying yes to ourselves. Mary Kelly, when we know better, we do better. Go ahead, Josh.
I want to speak to that real quick too, Jay, because I think a lot of people, I'll speak in the eye. I was hoping for this big light bulb moment to create change in my life. And it's not, and I searched everywhere I bought into years of success seminars, and I was looking for that one aha moment that would turn the lights on in the room and change everything for me. And you just nailed it, Jay. It's rewiring our neurons. And what that takes is a little bit of repetition. And what I like to use the analogy is it's like the Grand Canyon. The water has carved its way down for a lot of years. That's your pattern. And the water isn't going to just flow up over a hill in a new direction. You have to keep at these little thought patterns. Keep being aware of where you're leaking. Keep saying no. Keep saying yes to yourself. Keep saying yes to self-care. And what that does is that carves down, and it doesn't take years like the old pattern has taken to set in. It only takes about a month. I did a lot of studying on this. It's like 23 to 30 days. But if you, in those 30 days, if you just keep focusing and keep redirecting your thoughts in the new direction, it carves that channel down a little deeper. And then all of a sudden, one day you'll get deeper than the old water and it'll flow the new way. And that's rewiring your neurons. And so it's not hard. It just takes a little bit of effort. And I'm actually embarrassed a little bit, not anymore, no shame, no guilt, but of the tens of thousands of dollars I spent on books and seminars and seeking that aha. And literally it was the tiniest of things that created the change that I was seeking. It was choosing new thoughts every day.
Beautiful.
And that was it.
Love that.
Super.
Josh, Richard, breaking it down for us tonight, episode 81. As we approach 12 minutes before the hour, we are going to wrap at the hour tonight. That's my intention and commitment to you gentlemen this evening. I want to take this time to put us into, bring us into our last segment. We'll call it the wrap. And so in tonight's wrap, I'm going to invite.
As in Josh's wrap, or
really? Is that, are you saying we'll have to wrap this our last segment?
Wrap.
Exactly,
so
Jeff.
What we're going to do, just so you guys know, for those that missed our opening tonight, Josh, you're going to close us out with the wrap as well. So we're going to have 1 minute wraps here. And Jeff, I'm going to put you in a hot seat first.
You're talking wrap with a W.
It doesn't matter how we spell it. You get the message.
I am confused now.
When I take you out of solo frame, it's time to wrap. All right. So Ev, I'm going to invite you. Hit Jeff with a question. And Jeff, you've got 2 minutes or less to answer this question.
I thought Ev was going to give me some music to rap. Sorry, I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm just,
You're being playful.
All right, brother. Just a nice, simple question for you, my man. Just an example of how you've leaked your power in the past, but how you've been able to transmute that and take back that personal power to hit your peak.
Well, I said it earlier. I was a relationship I was in with a woman, and the word no was not in my consciousness, not even my vocabulary. Like I said, every time that she would call, let's do this, let's do that, I would drop anything that I was doing that was important to me. If I was editing photos, and I would just drop everything and went and did whatever she wanted me to do. And what I was doing was really, that pattern was, me taking care of mom, me needing to be loved by mom, me taking care of her needs and all of that good stuff. And as I went along in the relationship and I was in, process with someone, and I would talk to them about it, that person asked me, like, so Jeff, do you have a challenge saying no? It's like, wow. 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 So it was really that relationship that taught me that, wait a second, there are things I need to do for myself that is important. I'm tired right now. No. These are my needs. And what's really interesting, and I just want to, one more thing, is that I was projecting onto her that if I did say no, if I did set boundaries, if I did take care of my needs, that she wouldn't love me. The first time I did it, I said, you know what? No, I really can't do it. She goes, okay, I'm around. Give me a call in an hour or so. It was amazing how that transformation, and the point is, it was all about me. It was all about me.
Love it. Jeff Asano, breaking it down. Josh, Richard, well, we're going to have you go last. So I'm going to put Ev in there right now. Who's got a quick 1 minute question for Ev?
Fire me up, brothers.
You got one, Jay?
Hey, was it Ev, was it a challenge for you at all to say no in your life? To contain your own energy?
Yeah, brother, 100%. I've had those particular circumstances and situations all through my life, man, until I was able to reclaim back my power. And I take it back to my self-worth and my value. I had to do, like I said, a lot of that inner work before I actually had the strength to say no. I was a yes man for a long, long time, brother. But when I did, like we've talked about tonight, started putting up my boundaries, I actually received more respect. I actually received a lot more power within my own life. And I started applying a lot more self-care into my life. And my brothers and sisters, the power just came back in naturally. We have that whole reservoir of personal power just waiting to explode right now. And, Jeff, you obviously mentioned it tonight about that reciprocal exchange of energy, which I think it's such a key word, my brothers and sisters. But until we can really start implementing and, like we've said, actioning some of these particular things that we've talked about tonight, brothers and sisters, your energy is going to be going just one way all the time. So thanks, Jeff.
Beautiful. All right, I'm up. Who's got a question?
You reckon, Josh? Get him to wrap his answer.
Yeah, Jay, I got one because we've talked about in past episodes when we are making that change, when we are cresting that hill, and we're starting to put value on ourselves. It's really hard, and sometimes it takes this. I use the analogy of the strength of the side of a mustard seed. With that, I can move mountains. And just that little bit of faith and that little bit of hope, and that even that first no like Jeff was talking about. What was your smallest strength when you started to awaken, when you started to see the light, Jay, and you started to see your patterns? What was your shred of hope that you clung to in that time when you don't see the future, when you don't know the outcomes, when trying this new thing called self-love is uncomfortable? What did you hold on to?
That's a beautiful question. For me, my bottom was so low, Josh, from having given away all of my energy, to where, as June shared in her comment, my body was shutting down. I was near death. It was just this moment of clarity that I was tired, and the clarity was that I had no idea how to take care of myself. And by the grace of God, so began my spiritual awakening in the hospital. And knew then that it was time for me to show up and grow up and have the courage to surrender. It was about surrender. And it was understanding that how I had shown up was based on a belief system that I didn't even create. I was handed it, inheritance from my ancestors, and it was no longer serving me. And that was part of the surrender. I had to be willing to give it all away and say, I know nothing today. And seek help and raise my hand and speak my truths. And so began the healing journey. And so for me, that was the path to coming home. And I just had this knowing that if I just stayed with it and I stayed committed and I practiced new behavior to rewire my brain, that I was going to begin to experience self-love and freedom, the inner freedom and the inner wealth that I had lacked for my entire life. Josh, you're up, my friend. And before you go, I just want to say this, viewers and listeners, if you resonated with our show this evening, please share it out on your homepage so you can help us organically grow. And at the same time, if you are inspired to help the program grow, please consider donating. Venmo, Real Men Real Talk Live. We appreciate all donations so that we can continue to support the costs associated with the show. And in this moment, Josh, you are up. It's time to close it out with a wrap.
Everyone, everyone, clear the connection. We got JR, Gridlock Richard, calling Goldbridge here.
You got a minute and 20 seconds, Josh.
All right, let's bang this out. You ready, Ev? Are you up Schitt's Creek, feeling bleak and not chic? Where in your week is your energetic leak, keeping you weak and down off your peak? Let's turn the cheek and take back what you seek, giving you the power on this very hour of Real Men, Real Talk Live.